Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're here with comic Gabe Mollica. Gabe Mollica, how the hell are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Oh, no, thank you so much for coming in the snow, and I think even the trains were fucked up, and so you had to get an Uber.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's hero's work, man.
Well, I feel like I have an emergency fund for like comedy-related Ubers.
Yeah, when it's
taxis.
snowing, and it hasn't been snowing much lately, so that fund was just, must be plentiful right now. And if people want to see you do New York City comedy in the snow, where do they go? Where are you playing coming up? And if people aren't so lucky, where can they see you online?
Sure. At Gabe Mollica is all my Twitter handles and stuff like that. Right now, QED is like a nice home base for me where I'm producing what's basically a weekly show Fridays at 11 at QED.
Oh, okay.
That it's free. It's called Casual Sets.
And so, yeah, what is that where comics can come and just, I don't know, maybe be a little bit less formal and maybe test some of their B material to polish it up into A, or kind of what's the theory behind Casual Sets and how do you book it?
That's a great question. So I book it with three people who are QED people.
Okay.
Lauren Hope Crass,
Sure.
Kristen Manna, and Chris Gersbeck, who worked here for a long time, who actually made the studio.
Yeah, he's
baby.
the podcasting guru.
Yeah, we're in his home right now.
I was like, you want to be on the podcast? And he's like, I taught podcast. Like, I'm the guy who invented podcasting.
Basically, I took his class.
Oh, cool.
Everything I know about what we're about to do is Chris's fault.
Okay.
But so I produced with them, and so. We book a lot of Astoria folks, or people who are just like at QED a lot, people who think are funny. Last night we had Liz Mealy stop by, who tours the world, great comic, and she was there. Her boyfriend had a spot, and she walked in, and Kristen and I just sort of looked at each other, like, does she want to do a spot? So it's like it's a little free flowing,
That's cool.
But
yeah, and how is it casual? Is it at all more casual? Is that why'd you call it that?
So I sort of inherited the show. I'm the latest producer, so
Okay.
I'm new to this. It's casual. I think it's free. It's Friday nights at 11, which stereotypically comedy, at least in the club setting, Friday late is considered the worst show.
Okay.
Because people have been working all day Friday. They get out of work at 6. They're drinking, and then it's 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
They're demolished by 11. That's funny.
Exactly.
I never thought about that, where you're just so fucking sick of work that you drink so early that you can't go out too late. Okay. So Saturday they're a little bit more rested up where they could go out later.
That's it's always different, but that's the stereotype, I guess.
Okay.
But in terms of a story, that's not really the problem. It's a lot of people I feel like who just like were hanging out at home, they had dinner. Oh, there's a free show at 11.
Yeah.
Let's like stumble on over.
Oh, cool.
So I've been involved with it now for almost a month, and we've always had good shows. We've never had to cancel. Knock on wood. And
it's always packed.
Yeah.
Good.
It's a good time. So I do that basically every week. I have a monthly show here called The Funniest People I Met This Month.
Oh, and is it the funniest people you met that month?
It's a little the conceit is a little wonky.
Okay.
But I do. It originally started as like I just wanted to produce a show and know what that was like and book my friends. And eventually it's turned into me getting some really pretty cool headliners.
Oh, cool.
So I've had Dan Soder twice.
Wow.
I had Chris Laker. I had Ted Alexandro. This month, we have Kate Willett and Julia Clare, who are the Reply guys. So it's a leftist feminist podcast, which speaks to my
Reply guys. They get such a bad rap. But even I was doing retweet with I did this thing where I tried to do Twitter without any engagement whatsoever. I didn't follow anybody. I didn't like anybody whatsoever. Of course, it went it didn't go anywhere whatsoever. But then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start a actual comedy account. And I'm going to do full engagement, meaning I'm not going to tweet material. I'm going to retweet with comic and riff on other people's jokes. Because you're giving these people perfect credit anyway.
Sure.
It's I didn't steal your fucking joke. I didn't I didn't tweak your joke. I fucking had a related joke, and you're getting your full credit. But that almost got as bad of a rap, and I think one of the reasons could be that they don't get the credit. I almost think retweet with comment doesn't show up in your retweet numbers.
I think it shows up in your retweet numbers, but it doesn't. The likes you get from it don't translate over.
And so is that why they're being all bitter about it? It's dude.
No, I think they're being bitter about it because they get weird people,
not reply guys.
Yeah, well, they get people for example, they're tweeting about like healthcare and stuff like that, and they're getting a lot of like actuallys from people that like aren't engaging.
Mansplaining, right?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff.
And I guess that's and that's why they shouldn't get credit as a retweet number, because a lot of times it was designed to be able to take something like a Bernie Sanders big healthcare plan and have people on both sides be able to engage with it both positively and negatively. Sure. So it shouldn't reflect well on Bernie's tweet, because it's like I think that your big healthcare plan is taking money out of the pocket of taxpayers. And so is it the new reply guys? Like it just gets a bad rap in the same way. Retweet with comic is kind of lumped in.
Quote retweet guys are different from reply guys. I'm willing to I think that is a distinction. It is sort of interesting though when somebody like huge will retweet something and they'll just put like one emoji, like a thumbs up, and it's like, oh, like this would have been better for that like independent artist for you just to retweet it and just show it to your audience than to like get those likes yourself. So like there's a weird etiquette to it.
I stopped doing it just because I was only doing it to kind of go the other way, to be perfectly engaging, and I was able to engage with some funny people. But I know I don't do it anymore. I just like deleted everything. But you had something funny on Twitter recently, and it was you actually doing a front-facing thing, which I don't think you do too much, and the description was hilarious. I think you did, and I'll probably massacre it, but I think you did every line from The Boyfriend in Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, basically that.
But then, like I think talking with you afterwards, it wasn't just that. You also kind of punched it up with your own jokes. That's hilarious.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And I think I saw that, and I was like, wow. You seemed like somebody who does this all the time, but it sounds like you don't.
Yeah, no, it's the first time I ever made a video like this.
And you'll be doing more.
That's a great question. I'm at this crossroads where it's like, at last check, like 65, 66 retweets, something crazy like that, which is the most...
pretty recent, right?
Yeah, it's 2 days ago. And it's the most engagement I've ever had on any tweet.
So you're doing something right.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like, people have been asking, are you going to do another one? And it's like, I guess I have to, but I also don't want to like force it in a way. So maybe it's another, like people have been like, oh, you're going to do other boyfriends from other movies. It's like, okay, that's an option. Are you going to do this other conceit, which is like a little bit more broad, which is the conceit was like every line this person has in this movie, and then you do half the video of their actual lines, and then it devolves into your own jokes and stuff like that. So it's like maybe that's the format, and it can be any character in any movie, film, TV show, whatever. Or maybe it's just like, I just should do more video content. And I've already had a couple ideas that are just like one thing I was thinking about was like a 9th grader in high school. And it's like the joke is something like,
that's funny already.
Just like so I'd shave and like go throughout his day, and there's like a comedic premise that I won't give away on this hot mic right now. But so I've like thought about so I think my digital presence, it sounds so like pretentious. I just want to keep doing stand up, but I want to put out more this year, 2020. I want to make a couple more videos like that, and I want to start putting up my stand-up clips in like in a reasonable way on Instagram TV or whatever it is, just like a minute joke or two.
And then also it kind of makes people know that you're open to acting, and it gets your face in front of people to the point where just women are just so in love with your look, they want to either that or they just like that movie quite a bit. But that's cool because then but then it takes another level of commitment. Like you said, you're gonna have to shave the beard if you want to do a 9th grader, and you're like, are you ready to do that for comedy? Because normally you could just get up on stage at one of your shows, and just make people laugh with the beard. But now it's like, are you ready?
Yeah, well, I have a long history of this. When I did musicals as a kid, and I had 2 roles in a row where I was bald. I was Daddy Warbucks and Annie, and the
Lord.
King and I. So I was like 12 years old, like shaving my head to be like shaving the beard for a comedy video. That's in my wheelhouse. All right, I've been doing this. I've been doing the method thing for a long time.
And so it sounds like you have a lot of stuff coming up in 2020. And one of the things we're going to talk about is the artist way. And I think the artist way is known for a couple of things. It's known for artist dates where you kind of it's almost like treating yourself, but you like take yourself to something you've never done before. Maybe you take yourself to a museum. And then there's also morning pages where I think you're just supposed to write for how long?
3 pages.
3 pages worth. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so is that at all making you more productive as a stand-up or a comic in general?
That is a great question. So I started October 3rd this year, or of last year, and I did it pretty much straight through until Christmas.
Okay.
And 3 pages every morning, no matter what. I made it through, a weekend away. I made it through every day of work.
Are you doing this longhand, or are you doing
longhand? You got to do it longhand, and you're not supposed to reread them. Yeah, so
that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, so it's really the idea is that it's a brain dump, and then you just like get all the stuff out. So the first 2 weeks, and the book sort of talks about this. The book is so smart. The book sort of talks about how like at the beginning you're gonna be enthusiastic and you're gonna be getting stuff out, and there got to be a point where it was getting darker out, and it's December and it's dark at 4:30, and I'm starting every morning writing the first thing that comes to my mind, and sometimes it's dark, and sometimes I would be tired. It would get to Thursday of the long work week, and I'd think, man, I do not want to start my day by pumping out like the existential dread that I went to bed with or whatever.
But that's just kind of what you start with, right? And then it gets through stream of consciousness, and you're not even writing comedy or something. You're writing anything that's in your brain, and ultimately it leads you to a place of maybe, less dark and more productive.
Yeah, it made the writing on the best days, it made the writing in the afternoon a lot more like, I've already wrote for 30 minutes.
Yeah, the least I could do is write some jokes or some sketches.
Exactly. Or just like it was. I'm at this point, I've sort of made the decision that I have enough premises for like the year. Like if I just go over my notebooks, like I don't need any more premises. Like if I just spend the time like rewriting jokes.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times like comics are intimidated, or like just like people are intimidated. It's like, I gotta write, quote unquote. I gotta sit in a coffee shop all day, and it's just like so much rewriting. It's so much taking like, I have this comedic thought. I went to sports journalism camp as a kid, so I'm doing the whole thing about how I was a bad athlete. So like I have this idea, and it's been working, and I have a couple lines that work. But the real work of getting that joke to work is sitting there and just coming up with not new premises that exist in the world, but taking this thing and what are all the angles of sports journalism camp?
Yeah.
Different sports, different ages, whatever it is.
Do you have a rubric like that? Like I almost think you could open up a Microsoft spreadsheet, put your premises along, a column along the left side, and then in a row along the top side, you could list all the angles that you've been successful with in the past. Like either, first person, third person. Like kind of, is there any tests that you, any kind of tricks of the trade with respect to finding all those angles?
That's a great question. I always start with, almost all my jokes start with like I have a line. It's like, okay, this is a comedic line about this thing, and it sort of just tries to build organically from there.
Yeah.
It is what you described as like pretty structured, and what I would say is I am pretty structured, just not in that X and Y.
Yeah.
I'm showing you
he's
an Excel spreadsheet
now,
with my hands, which is
Chris
not how this...
Gersbach would have us talk about right now. What he's doing is he's doing an X and Y, an L shape with his hands.
With his hands, which is totally unhelpful for you guys. But so it's not exactly that structured. But for right now, like I'm usually all longhand, but I've been going into the Google Doc and been doing like sports broadcasting camp in bold, and then like the 2-minute joke I have, and then at the bottom I'm going like, what are other things that I did that were unathletic? What was my experience playing sports? So things that are related that get me to other joke topics, right? Good. So like I've been doing this thing about I sang in a barbershop quartet in college. I had to give it up. I was getting too much pussy. It's just like it's a quick one. Like it means nothing. It works for like a late crowd. But it's like, okay, that's a line that I've used like in crowd work and like messing around. Maybe that belongs in the sports broadcasting camp joke somewhere, even though it's not related. So I'm trying to make connections between all my different jokes. So it's structured in a sense of I'm trying to be organized about it, in terms of having a play space. I see like the document is like, okay, I can go out in all these different directions. Like Gary Goldman recently was like, in the last year was like, when I discovered that I could write in my journal without lines, where I could just have a blank piece of paper, that's when I started to draw those connections and stuff. And I was like,
that's so funny, because why would we think we had to draw just on the lines?
Yeah.
That is a pretty good discovery.
Like a web. Yeah. So I'm trying to do I'm printing stuff out and writing in the margins of the printout, as in addition to my notebooks, in addition to listening to sets. So it's all... It's a little there is a math to it, but it's also like an alchemy that I can't really explain, that I'm just trying to like figure out.
Yeah, I do like that though, especially like if you find yourself getting a good response with a certain type of bit, it could mean that they like that coming out of your mouth instead of out of the mouth of somebody who looks entirely different. Whereas some of your material, you're like, I'm such a playboy. If you're sincere, I'm such a playboy, I get laid all the time. Like that might not fit if you're showing up with looking disheveled or with a 14-inch long beard, which he doesn't have, by the way. We have to Chris Gersbeck principles. But like, and so if you're finding you're getting a good response on one bit, then it's nice to ask questions that are, okay, what else in my life has me coming off like kind of a nerd? Like I thought I was cool because it was sports journalism, but still it was a sports journalism camp. And then what else is like that? So I love the fact that at the bottom of a successful bit, you're asking questions to get to what else is just like this. And then if I were to come to casual sets coming up, are you still doing spots, or are you just hosting and booking?
So we sort of so Chris is a producer, Lauren and Kristen, and right now Chris isn't doing stand-up. So Lauren, Kristen, and I rotate hosting.
Okay.
And basically we'll always do a spot. Sometimes a little bit shorter than the other comics. We try to like showcase those people that we're booking, because we're like, hey, we liked you, come do 10 minutes. So it depends on the week. Sometimes I host. Sometimes I do a spot. Tonight I'm on QED Presents, which is like the weekend show here.
I think Samantha Bednar, she was a previous guest. I think she might be on there too.
Oh, tonight.
Cool. I thought, yeah. But then also, so this casual set's coming up. This coming up Friday, a week from yesterday. Do you know if are you the one who's hosting?
I will not be hosting because I hosted last night.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. All right. So you're rotating and with some other great comics. And how is their kind of delivery and content different from your own? Like the people who are doing the show with you? Is it Lauren? Who's it? Lauren Hope Crass?
Lauren Hope Crass and Kristen Manna.
Why are you guys such a good fit, and why did you get recruited into this long-running solid show?
That's a great question. Also, I keep saying that, but I really do mean it, because no one wants to talk to me about my life. How did I get it? So I've always QED. I adore QED. QED's given me so much, from like hosting my first mic to producing my first show to my first paid spot to host QED Presents, like whatever it is.
To this podcast today, which is also
to
QED,
this podcast
right?
today. Yeah, this is my first. I think I've done podcasts before, never in like a Chris Gersbeck approved studio. How did I get involved? Is that when I came back from Edinburgh this summer, which we can talk about at some point, but. And I wanted to be more involved in the weekend comedy scene at QED, because there's all these great shows.
Yeah.
And I just sent Lauren a message. I was like, hey, how does somebody get involved with this? Just like filling in, like whatever. I want to be involved with these free weekend shows because they're great.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, we're only twice a month right now. So it probably won't happen. But like, I'm glad you're interested. That's cool. And I was like, that's totally fine. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, it's a good starting place.
And a couple weeks later, she goes, hey, Cambry, the owner of QED, wants to make this like weekly or like almost weekly. Do you want to be involved? And I was like, oh my God, yes.
That's
and
amazing. You rejected me for twice monthly, but now I'm getting the weekly.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, I was really made the end of the year a lot sweeter, knowing in 2020 I'm going to be part of this thing, because I'd been booked on the show before and I liked hanging out at it, and all those people are my friends, and it's fun to be part of a comedy community.
And is there and we'll wrap it up here because we're running out of time, but I'll blame the snow, of course. But how does their comedy and your own differ? I mean, is there kind of a contrasting style? I mean, I guess you're rotating the things, but if you're not hosting that day, you are doing a spot. So I'm going to see all three of you every single week.
Yeah.
And so kind of how does your comedy, how is each of your comedy unique, or is there any commonality?
We're all we're all in different parts and places in our lives, so we're talking about different things.
Okay.
So Kristen right now is dating a guy who has kids, so that's like taken a big part of her her comedic sensibilities. She's telling stories that like I would never that could never happen to me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like part of my life. You know, I'm young enough where I don't know if I'd be dating somebody with multiple children.
Yeah.
So I love listening to that sort of perspective. Lauren's talking about oh God, she has so many great jokes, and is starting to like really make it, like traveling as a comedian, like professional comedian, doing spots all over. So she's doing her own version of dating as a plus size woman, finding clothes, and she has all these great takes. She just did Butterboy, which is like the big Brooklyn bar show.
Oh, cool. So how to kind of date as a plus size person while you're on the road too.
Yeah,
and getting more and more and more successful and more resentful of these less successful men being like, I don't.
Yeah, she has this great New York LA
mini, right?
about the difference because like in LA, I don't want to misquote her joke too much, but the idea is like everyone in LA is like, you're so brave. She's like, no, I know I'm pretty. Like, like I don't need to hear this from you guys.
When you're this pretty, you don't need to weigh 3 pounds.
Exactly.
And then yours is totally different because you're none of those things. And kind of what generally, and what we'll end with this, like a Gabe Mollica joke is going to be about. sports journalism about not being, kind of, doing things you think are cool that are not really going to get you laid. Like, kind of, what is the through line, the common through line?
The through line is cuddling. I do a lot. I have a longer joke about cuddling. The through line is like looking for intimacy and like trying to be like goofy in myself and ultimately what I'm trying to do is like long form Birbiglia style, Michael Birbiglia style shows. So that's what I did in Edinburgh, and that's what I'm working on. And my dream is to do like small theaters. So like I love comedy clubs, but I love them for figuring out jokes. And then when I figure out jokes, I like putting them into stories. So at the end, like I've been on The Moth, so like I want to use my jokes to learn a little bit more about me and learn.
And Moth is a storytelling show.
Yeah, it's on NPR.
Yeah.
And I told a story there years ago, and I got a call or an email 2 years later that was like, "Hey, we want to put this on NPR for millions of people." And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
But it was before I did comedy, so there's one or two jokes, but it's not funny, really.
So now you're still trying to find that same Moth story that will, keep exposing you in the same way your Twitter front-facing every boyfriend from Devil Wears Prada is.
Yeah. I'm trying to show everything, which is hard because your taste is always so much higher than your ability. So like my taste is really particular, and I'm just trying to I'm doing more stuff with my hands. I'm just trying to get to that point where my ability matches what I know is really funny and meaningful and good. So like Neil Brennan's Three Mics, like, all over that. Hassan Minaj's Homecoming King. Those are the specials. Those are the things that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
and you just do it 10 minutes at a time.
And you start with Artist's Way morning pages. That's the kind of where you kind of you get your juices flowing, such that your afternoon comedy writing can just look easy by comparison.
Yeah, and it's what I did for 60 days to end the year, basically. Maybe closer to 90. And I've been intermittent with it to start the year, but it's something I'm going to hopefully pick up again in like the next couple weeks as I figure out, as I get back into the routine of 2020 and what my year is going to look like.
Oh, good. And we'll start out dark and we'll end with cuddling.
Yeah.
Gabe Mollica, thank you so much.
Oh, Brian, thank you so much. This is awesome.